Going on, guys? JC here, and what I'm bringing you guys today is one of the laziest, most enjoyable, fun necromancer builds to play that I have come up with. This is my first time ever playing a necromancer in Diablo 4. We were on stream the other day, and it was between a rogue and a necromancer. Chat chose necromancer, and here we are, and I am glad they did because I have been having an absolute blast. It's so strong, it's so overpowered, and I have come up with probably the laziest variation of this build. This build is 100% minion damage, no shadow damage whatsoever. I literally just have to keep a curse up, and I pop my bone storm just to give us fortify, give us barrier. So with all do that, I like to keep my build guides short, sweet, and to the point. So we're gonna get right into the build here. We're going to start off with our aspects. So our aspects that we're running on our helm, we're going to be running Hulking Archon Helm. This is just basically going to buff up our golem damage and kind of reduce its active cooldown. I absolutely love this. It's our golem is our bread and butter, and this is kind of like, this is just, you need this. You need this. Moving down to our chest piece, we're running with the hardened bones. I haven't found a perfect one yet, but as you guys saw from the intro video, it doesn't even matter because we just do so much freaking damage. But we're using hardened bones. Me and my minions gain, currently we're at 19% increase to damage reduction. So really, only thing that's going to happen is we can just tank a little bit more, but we really... It's not a big deal with the way, once you get armor capped and resistance capped and you're running the build that I'm running, it's just so OP. Coming down to our gloves, we are using blood getters. This is incredibly strong. I hardly ever have to use a healing potion because these priests just kind of heal me and just keep me topped off, especially mixed with our curse. We'll get into that. I don't even have to use my health potion. It's just so good. Coming down to our pants, we are using what is this? The Shielding Storm. This is amazing. This is why we pop our Bone Storm pretty much on cooldown whenever we're running into packs. This keeps us barriered up out the yin yang. Absolutely love it. Coming down to our boots, we're using the treads of the Occult Dominion. This just gives us 4 extra minions to be running with. Absolutely fantastic. Coming to our weapons, so I'm using a one-hand and a focus. If you really wanted to, you could use a two-hander, use like a big scythe, kind of be more traditional necromancer type stuff. If that's the case, essentially what you're going to do is you're just going to get rid of this grasping veins, and you're going to put reanimation on your two-hander. I went with the one hand and the focus, and I'm using grasping veins. Just because of my corp tendricles, it just gives us a little bit of extra critical strike chance and critical strike damage, and I think it works fantastic for me. I do want to say before we get any further, we are using the Ring of the Sacrilegious Soul. I kind of feel like this isn't necessary, but this makes this build that we're running like incredibly lazy and easy. So you can run this without this ring, but I personally feel, I mean, I've already gotten like 7 of these rings. If you could find a good Ring of the Sacrilegious Soul, then that's what you're going to want to run, because I don't cast anything. This ring casts everything for me, and it's just so stupidly good. Moving on to our second ring, we are using Frenzied Dead. This just basically gives us attack speed. And what I like about this is especially getting a perfect roll, and then, you know, using this key passive down here, the Callan's Edict, we don't even have to look for attack speed. Like, our our attack speed is so stupidly high that we don't even have to look for it on our gear. So this to me is an absolute no-brainer. And then again, for our necklace, I'm currently using the Melted Heart of Selig. I got super lucky. I got it on a drop off of Uber Duriel, or Uber Andariel, I believe it was. And this has saved my life so many times. I mean, the maximum resource, and then basically having a second life pool because it comes from my resource, is just so stupidly overpowered. I don't feel like this build isn't necessarily needed for what we're trying to do. You don't necessarily need this amulet, but if you have your hands on it, then by all means, it's super fantastic. But it's not needed. If you weren't armor capped, I would probably put like disobedience on my necklace or something like that. Find another either a defensive or an offensive aspect that you would use. But this is what's working for me. And then of course on our focus, we are using the reanimation. As far as temper goes, another reason why I'm using a one hand and a focus is because I like having the extra tempers. So if you only use a two-hander, you're only getting 2 tempers. But if you use the focus, it's the same damage as using a 925 two-hander, but you get 2 extra tempers. So we're going for Golem and Bone Storm duration, and then we're going for Golem damage and minion attack speed. This is kind of what our roles were. You definitely want to get the Golem damage. Golem damage is huge on anything that you can that can be attacking. So for instance, our gloves here, Golem's damage. Our rings, Golem's damage. So you want to try and get as much Golem damage as you can. And then as far as your like your defensive or your utility, you go for cooldown reduction on your ultimate, or you'll go for like I think we got Bone Storm duration. You just kind of want to choose one that works for you. And then of course on your armor, your defensive stats, if your armor is your good, if you're capped on armor, then you can roll with max life, but you might need a few armor tempers here and there just to make sure you get over 9,000 armor. But if you've got 9,000 armor, then I would definitely recommend rolling max life, because just life is key. So moving on to the Book of the Dead, skeletal warriors, we're using the Reapers, of course. Definitely need to get that for our cooldowns. The mages, so this is a little bit controversial. If you and I'll get into this. So we're using Iron Maiden, which costs 0 essence. We use this because it heals us. If you decide to use Decrepify instead, you're going to want to go with each time they attack, you gain 3 essence. If not, I like this one. It just applies vulnerable, and our mages are always attacking, so it just negates the need for running exploit. Just kind of makes them all vulnerable. We just do a little bit more damage. But like I said, if you're going to run Decrepify instead, my build is not set up for Decrepify. We'll go over that, but you would run these guys gaining 3 essence, and then same thing with your golems. You're going to be using the blood with the healing one. It honestly, when they're healthy, they get 25% damage reduction and 50% increased damage, and it heals you. If you don't like that, or if you don't want that, you can run with the bone one, this one right here, where it makes them vulnerable and it just kind of does like an AoE spike damage. But I think for more single target burst, this blood one is the way to go. Moving on to our skill tree. So our first little node here in our basic skills, we're just grabbing Reap just so we can move on. We're not using any core skills whatsoever. We're just going to put 3 into Hewed Flesh. Coming down into our Corpse and Macabre skills, we're going to put 3 into Spiked Armor. We're going to max out Skeletal Warrior. 2 into Grim Harvest. 3 into Fueled by Death. I'm going to go a little bit slow here. That way you guys can copy along if you'd like, or just pause the video, whatever works for you. Coming down to our curse spells, or our curse little block, I went 5 into Iron Maiden, 3 into Death's Embrace. We're going to max out Death's Approach, max out Skeletal Mastery, and then max out Amplify. Pretty much we're going to max out everything here. So here's the thing. You can either go Iron Maiden, or you can go Decrepify. So if you're going to go with Decrepify, then that does give, yes, it does give you a little bit of damage reduction, but I'm not getting hit anyways. And it slows them down. Okay, so it makes it to where they're always have they're always crowd controlled. All right, So if you're going to be using the control glyph, then this is what you want to use. I'm not using the control glyph. I'm using the mage glyph. So I'm using Iron Maiden. And instead of it costing essence, it gives us 5 essence. And every time something dies from it, we gain 7% of our life. So we're getting a 1600 heal every time something dies. That just keeps our life topped off. Especially if you combine it with this right here, the Skeletal Priest empowers us, and this ring, it's just constantly healing us. You know, things are dying with our curse. It's automatically using our corpses to heal us. It's a no-brainer to me to just kind of run Iron Maiden. I've played with both. I prefer Iron Maiden. So coming down into our second Corpse and Macabre skills, we are going to be using Corpse Tentacles. Come on over here to the Plagued Corpse Tendrils. And then we're going to be putting 3 into Necrotic Carapace, just to kind of give us a little bit more fortify. Actually, it fortifies our minions so they don't die as fast. Coming into our ultimate, we're going into Golem Mastery, of course. 3 into Inspiring Leader, 3 into Hellbent Commander, 3 into Bonded in Essence. I kind of feel like this Death's Defense is pointless, seeing as our minions take our armor and our resistances, buffing them even more just kind of seems redundant, especially when you're using the ring that's just constantly spawning them. I just kind of feel like this is redundant. My minions don't die. So, and then we're going into Bone Storm. You could use Army of the Dead, but if I'm being honest, I think Bone Storm paired with the aspect that gives you the barrier is just the absolute way to go. And then, of course, our key passive, we're using Kalen's Edict for the attack speed. I'm not liking Shadow Blight. I don't care for the whole shadow damage thing, and this is just working for me. And if you're watching this video, then you clearly don't want to go into a shadow build anyways, so Kalen's Edict is the way to go for attack speed. Like I said, the way we currently have this is we don't have to look for attack speed on our gear whatsoever. Our minions are just attacking fast enough, and it's just fantastical. So going over our Paragon board, I'm gonna go over this. Like I said, I'll go a little bit slow. That way you guys can pause the video and put your points in. But in our first board, we're using the Mage Glyph. So this is what I'm talking about. If you prefer Decrepify, then this first glyph spot is where you're going to put your control glyph. Okay, they both cost 40 intelligence. This is where you would put control. So this is where you would get your bonus to crowd control damage. I'm not doing that. I'm buffing my mages. So this is where I put my mage glyph, and I'm currently in the process of leveling this glyph up, as it's only level 18 at the moment. But this is just a flat bonus damage to our mages, and then all of our minions gain an extra 35% resistance. So to me, that just kind of makes sense. Going into our second board is Cult Leader. We definitely want to grab the Cult Leader itself. And then we're going to be putting Dead Razor here. Very, very strong. It's just damage reduction for the minions. And then it's also flat out summoning damage for us. And then whenever our minions deal damage, they take 1% increased damage up to 15%. So it's just a 15% flat damage bonus, while also granting us DR and summon damage in this board itself. So that's our second board. Again, Dead Razor. Going into our third board, it's going to be the Hulking Monstrosity. And this is where we're going to be putting our Amplify glyph. Now, you could put your Golem glyph here, but I feel like you got to spend just a few more points. So I think Amplify is just kind of the best way to go. It is buffing our Golem damage, and it is buffing our Golem armor. You want to come in also, you want to grab the Hulking Monstrosity, because our Golem is... Golem, however you want to say it. Our Golem is like the bread and butter of our damage. All right, the most burst damage comes from him. So buffing him and trying to get as much damage out of him as you can is definitely the way to go for a pure summon build. So this is our third board. We'll move on to our fourth board, which is going to be the Scent of Death board. and we're going to be putting our golem glyph here. So like I said, you can put your golem glyph down in here, but there's not as much willpower as there is up here. And like I said, we're trying to buff this as much as we possibly can. And that's why I just kind of feel like your golem glyph is best in this board. If you could find a better way to configure it, by all means, let me know, because I would love to give it a try. I love trying other people's, recommendations, or I just like to play around with things. So I would more than happily love to take your advice on something and to give it a go. But so yeah, our what we got lost there. So our fourth glyph is golem. Moving into our fifth glyph, we are currently going to be using territorial. So territorial just gives us our damage to close enemies, and we're going to be getting the 10% DR. This is in the bone graft board. We're not going up there. This is literally just a little bit of a pass through. You want to come down here. You want to grab your little bit of a bone damage. To be honest, we could probably get rid of these points if we really wanted to. I'm coming down here just to grab these dexterity nodes, just to kind of buff the close damage just a little bit more. But we don't really need the bone damage. The only thing that's doing damage is our bone storm, and it's not something that we don't rely on for damage. We're just using the bone storm for our shield. And then coming into our final board will be Flesh Eater, and this is where we're going to be putting our corporeal glyph. This is where you are going to bonus out on your resistances. It's super strong, and then we're also going to be bonusing out on our elite damage. So using corporeal, you're going to get a bonus to all your magic nodes, and then you and your minions deal 10% increased physical damage, and you gain 1% movement speed for each active minion. It makes it to where you are just a super fast. Currently don't have my skeletal mages, which is weird, but movement speed feels absolutely great running this glyph. I'm sure that you could probably swap this glyph out for like Gravekeeper just to get a little bit of extra damage if you really wanted to. But I feel like this is doing good for me just because it's boosting up our resistances. I mean, this would be the same thing. The only difference here is you would deal increased amount of damage for every close corpse. So if you don't want the movement speed, then using Gravekeeper here would be a 100% perfect opportunity. Like, you could do that if you don't need the movement speed. I like to go fast, so I'm using corporeal. And that's pretty much it. We've kind of went over everything. That's it. I mean, it's a 6 glyph setup. I'm sure we can get a 7 glyph setup, but we would lose a little bit of our rare nodes, and our rare nodes is kind of what makes the classes like really strong. But yeah, that's that. To recap, like I said, this build is 100% minion damage only. There is no shadow damage whatsoever, and it's so much fun to play. I am having such a fantastic time playing this build. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this build. If you did, thumbs up would be fantastic. You guys can subscribe if you haven't already. I really do appreciate the support on the YouTube videos. If you guys want to catch us live, my Twitch link is down in the description. We also we dual stream over here on YouTube all the time. So if you guys aren't a Twitchers and you guys are just a bunch of YouTubers, then by all means, you guys will be able to just click that subscribe button and you'll be able to catch us live playing Diablo, or just kind of theory crafting builds and whatnot. I really do appreciate you guys for watching. That's it for me. I tried to keep it as short, sweet, and to the point as I can. So hopefully y'all enjoyed that. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in my next video. Love you, bye.